Hello, hello, hello. There we go. All right. God damn it, I'm hungry.
You should probably eat before starting an episode.
Right, yeah. Okay, well, my place is this way, so let's just wander to my place, and then we'll get that.
Oh.
So, I have excessively mixed feelings about the new Star Treks.
Same here. Like, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, because I'll start with, like, the fact that they're really pretty. Like,
they're very well made, like, from a creative and, like, special effects standpoint.
Yeah, like, I especially thinking of, like, Star Trek Beyond and seeing the ship, like, the Enterprise in the bit where they're trying to get out of it after it's already crashed.
Oh, yeah.
And just, yeah, like, having that entire scene be just kind of, like, I don't know.
So adrenaline rush.
Anything with the ship. Like,
oh, yeah. They do a really good job with it. It's starting from the 2009 Star Trek, it was very action-oriented.
Yeah.
But they pulled it off ever since then. Like, I remember first seeing the trailer for it, and then they showed, like, the Enterprise being built, and we're just like, oh my god, that's so cool. Like,
yeah. And the design of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, like, because there's qualms about the design of it, because I believe that, like, if I'm thinking right, the actual specs of the ship is still twice as big as the original Constitution class. Which is huge. And to be fair, okay, this part's tricky. To be fair, like, Enterprise E, I believe the Constitution class was the size of the nacelle.
Yeah.
The nacelle, however you want to pronounce that.
Nacelle.
It's the nacelle. And, so that's a thing, but I know that, like, I'm not one to be like, why aren't you sticking with the source material? Because this isn't the source material.
Exactly.
You know, like,
it's a loose,
different
reimagining because it's a parallel universe.
it's a parallel universe, and there's nothing guaranteed about, like, there's no guarantee that, like, Spock's traveling back in time in the 2009 movie was the thing that set it off. Like, there's no guarantee that it wasn't already different.
Exactly, because there have been talks about that, about how it's different, like, it was different already, like, it wasn't actually going to be, like, Spock had just, the way they looked at it is, like, Spock just ended up in a parallel universe. He didn't actually, like, just travel back in time.
Right, yeah.
Which
and so,
I think works, you know, whatever, it's a sci-fi.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I think it's a really good way to, like, it's a good way to initially be like, this is Star Trek. We're gonna reboot this in the most Star Trek way, is that Spock gets thrown back into the past, which ends up becoming an alternate dimension because he changed things.
Yep.
Or, you know, well, that goes against what I just said, but you know what I mean. So,
well, that's from his point of view, yeah, he just went back in time and changed things, but it definitely feels more than that.
Yeah. And it's what I find interesting is that it's like a weird loose in between. Like, the series as a whole so far is a weird loose in between of the Mirror universe, the Imperial, the Imperial Empire, Jesus, the
Earth Empire.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, thank you. Because
Terran
they were
Empire.
very, you know,
Terran,
yes,
that's what they call them.
They were very militant, very Spock has a beard type of creepy, and
it's the only difference.
And then you're supposed to have, like, our version of Starfleet and the Federation be very Starfleet's the militant part, but they're definitely more like, hey, we're gonna, like, travel around and, like, say hello to people instead of saying hello, we want to kill you
with guns.
So,
hello with guns.
Hello with guns. Yeah. The very typical human way. Well, the difference in the First Contact scenes with Cochrane and how he's like, you know, hey, handshake, or I'm just going to shoot you. Wasn't that from Enterprise?
That was really, I believe it was Enterprise. Like, if you haven't seen that, that's a very shockingly cool alteration to make. Because, like, when you're watching it, you're just like, why am I seeing this? And then it was like, oh shit, like, it's the same First Contact setup with the exact same footage, and then they just use new footage of them like actually attacking the Vulcans when they show up. But it's just because it's alternate Earth, they're more aggressive. That's so
and
fascinating.
If you're like already into Star Trek, you can really just be like, oh, this is that mirror universe. Yeah. You know, it's not. Yeah, see, there's a water temple like right there.
Oh yeah.
Okay. That next one over, you can see how I got like a bit of land.
Oh, there's like a little bridge.
Walking. Yeah. So like you have changes to the Enterprise already, but like as a design concept, there's this whole thing of, do you want to keep it with the lore of the movie or the series or all this other stuff, or do you need to just sometimes abandon things to update it? Which it feels like kind of what they did was just, kind, you know what, this is new. We have better graphics technologies. We have ways to make the Enterprise itself look cooler, do these other things. So like, I don't know, I appreciate that to that aspect, especially what the warp field. I do wish that they would get it like consistent.
From movie to movie, or like, how do you mean?
Movie to movie. Well, because in the second movie, and Into Darkness, it's that really cool tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
That was really neat when they did it. And then in Star Trek Beyond, it always looks neat, but in Star Trek Beyond, it was that weird folding of space.
Yep.
Remember as they flew by?
That's a good point.
Which I feel like it fit the... I feel like each of them fit the mood of the movies.
But why
the Into Darkness one was the Into Darkness movie felt a lot more aggressive, a lot more scary, a lot like constricted. Especially having the dreadnought come after them like that.
Oh
that
god, that was like
noise
one of the
that it
coolest freaking scenes.
Oh god, you're right. But then having Beyond be all more like adventurous and seeing them like you see them from a distance. They like the way they like fold space as they fly past it.
Yeah.
But I do wish that they would like get it a little more consistent. This is my home.
Well, yeah. I do wish that they like why. Oh, hey, I didn't know the boats have oars now. That's cool.
You have to use a shovel to make them now.
That's actually really cool.
A wooden shovel.
I am taking
it's kind of neat.
Out of this.
So I do wish that they would get that more consistent. I've heard that complaint, which I can get on board with.
I can get behind that because that just seems irritating. Like, why? I'm trying to think of like a good example. Be like, it's almost like changing the color of something, but for like no explanation.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like from one movie to another.
I
guess because my first thought was, well, then why in the Next Generation is the commanding officer is now wearing red instead of yellow? But never mind. Maybe that was just a choice to change things up. You know, it's been 80 years. They changed. You know. Yeah.
But I mean, look at the uniforms of anything like that.
That's true. I mean, if you look at the uniforms of like any kind of military or organization, they're not going to stay the same. That's a good point.
Right. You can see how much ocean is actually on this map.
Yeah, no, this map is actually really cool. Cool Minecraft maps are cool.
Yes, they are. So yeah, that's like my like aesthetically, the new movies look super neat, but not. They look better because they are better graphics, but Star Trek's always just had a knack of having really neat looking things.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Like the model ships, all that stuff. Like, I've always thought they've done that very well.
I thought so.
Yeah, and so like that's a thing.
I really do enjoy like how the tone change from. Like, I guess I'm jumping back a little bit, but I was just gonna say the tone change. Like when you say the models, it really reminds me. I always think of Wrath of Khan, like immediately.
Yes. Yep.
Just because that was the first one to really start to use them more effectively.
Correct.
It's just especially.
And when I talk about Star Trek, and when I reference Star Trek, most of the movies, I've seen all of it, but like,
oh yeah.
most of the movies, definitely the Next Generation,
Mm-hmm.
and then like Voyager and some stuff like that. But
honestly, yeah, because I think we talked about like my least favorite is DS9. Not because it's not as good, it's just not my kind of show.
I like the
like
more
when I think
like
Star Trek, I don't
around.
think that.
Right.
Yeah, because that's why I like Voyager so much, because it reminds me more of like the adventurous side. Like
right. I think,
but they have like an overarching goal.
Yeah, I think the downside though of the new movies. I have not seen Star Trek Discovery because I do not have CBS All Access.
Right.
But,
I haven't seen it either.
I don't think it's possible to compare the new movies to anything but the old movies because it's a movie format, and
exactly.
Star Trek works best, in my opinion, as a TV series.
I think it does. It definitely shines better when you have more of an episodic kind of scenario, like a short episodic, not just like episode 1, episode 2. You know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you were left the game.
It kicked me.
So well, and if you look at like plot wise, everyone likes 5 the least, but also having Kirk, McCoy, and Spock at a campfire at the beginning is good. That's just for me. That's just great Star Trek.
Well, yeah.
But if you look at like,
I was just gonna say it's character building in a very random scenario.
Yeah, and they're also being like, this is what Yosemite, I think, is where they were, is like for the 22nd century. No, 23rd century, 22nd century.
I can never keep it straight personally.
I think it's 22nd. So like that's
Space.
neat. But if you look at like the most, if you look at the most popular, you're right. If you look at the most popular Star Trek movies, it's 2 and I want to say 8 is Khan and First Contact.
Yeah.
Which are both revenge stories.
Yeah,
they're very
actually, that's
aggressive,
a really good point.
very
Didn't even think about that.
combative. It's because it's you have Khan and he's brought back, and you have Kirk, but with First Contact, you have Picard up against the Borg,
which
he's got the
beef with.
Yeah, and
from the series. That's interesting. I never even actually made that connection.
Yeah, and so like having that be a thing is, I think that's interesting, that like as Star Trek is the way it is, also like, because if you think of like the series, you always think of really cool character moments.
Yeah.
But when you think of the movies, it's always these, look at I think Undiscovered Country balances it the best, but it definitely has some really neat action bits.
Oh, it does.
But having I think the Klingon dinner is one of the best.
So it's so like, I don't know. It really works because like, it's entertaining because there's some like comedic moments that aren't in the situation aren't comedic. Like, because like it's a funny situation to the audience because like, just because the Klingons are like, what's that?
I said because we're not there.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's funny to us because we're not feeling the pressure that they are, of course. But it's like like the whole joke about like Shakespeare and the original Klingon. It's just like,
yeah,
it just feels so much like they're trying to boast to themselves or to showing to the Starfleet officers that they're so much better, and like they do a really good job of creating that very just awkward situation, and then just kind of like keep that feeling going throughout the whole movie. Undiscovered Country is definitely a really good one.
Well, and I think that is something that the new ones are lacking. Like, if you look at like the main conflict, I think the first one did a pretty good job putting in a lot of the lore of Star Trek, where Romulus has been destroyed, which is pretty intense.
Oh yeah.
Thinking of it from the original Star Trek point of view.
Right.
And then, like, the original timeline point of view. And then having Spock think back and see, you've got the picture from, his crew. You've got the, is that in that one?
Which one?
No, that's Into Darkness. I'm sorry. Where you see the picture, because that's after Leonard Nimoy has passed, and they have Spock, or is that Beyond?
I thought that was Beyond.
That was Beyond. Oh my gosh, yeah,
Beyond.
it's
no, it's okay.
So okay, so ignore that. But in the first one, you've got all this like setup of I don't know where my iron went. Oh, there it is. You've got the setup. Yeah. Where was I? You've got the setup for. I knew this was gonna happen. My brain, where'd it go?
All right, what are you talking about?
The plot. The plot for the first one.
Yeah, 2009 was set up, and then the lore.
You have the lore of it, and it's very like, here's all this stuff that's happening. Don't open that map I just sent you.
Okay.
Did you open it?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I figure if we want to explore, if you gotta wait till you're in the new area to open the map
to actually do it.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Anyway, having the 2009 be pretty lore heavy. So you've got Romulus, you've got Nero, who's like, I wanted more of him, and I think you get more of him in the deleted stuff, especially with was he on Repente?
Yeah, I believe that was.
Isn't that where he was? Because it was around then still, because that wasn't when it had exploded yet, at least in this timeline, it was still a thing. So you've got these bits of like things in there, and then you want like jump to the more militant reactions in Into Darkness. What?
I said, do I not get a boat?
Oh, I guess I could make you a boat.
All right, so you go into Darkness.
You've got the more like reactionary politics of just being like, oh, we have to protect ourselves and we got to do it to any means necessary.
I think it was like a really logical continuation.
Yeah, but I still think having Khan be that was a little heavy.
Yeah, honestly, like that was probably my biggest beef with that movie, because it was like, oh, it's not gonna be Khan. Don't worry, it's Khan. And it was just like, oh, okay.
Especially when they started him not being Khan, he was just he used another alias, you know.
It felt like very much like you're just messing with the audience at that point. Yeah, it did. It felt less like the plot was doing something and more like, haha, look at what we're doing. The writers are doing something.
Yeah,
I think that I have such a problem with that.
Yeah, and so I do think.
Where's the boat at in the crafting table?
Under transportation. The rails.
Oh, yeah,
it's the last one. And then you have to search for whatever wood you have.
I need a shovel. All right. Anyway.
Yeah. So I think, and it's kind of the same bits with Beyond, where like you've got. I like that it feels like they're doing a lot of lore, a lot of throwback, but it feels like it's for the sake of the audience and not as part of the story.
Yeah.
Like, I think Beyond did it a little better because you didn't know who he was, and it was revealed later that he happened to be a captain and stuff.
Yeah.
Back when he was Starfleet before it was that was the one where it was still Starfleet before the Federation was a thing, and so like he was also super militant.
Yeah, because they keep pushing that feeling.
Yeah, which is, it's neat to have they're at least having the plot be like
side of it.
Coherent. Yeah, but it's very like, I don't know. It just feels like they're. I'm tired. Actually, this is a good way to put it together. I'm tired of seeing Kirk, McCoy. I'm tired of seeing anybody in the main cast running. If that makes sense. I'm tired of, actually, let's go this way. I'm tired of seeing the like dramatic bits of them running through the Enterprise hull or the hallways.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was gonna say it's very action oriented. It's not like, because if you think about the old ones, and again we're comparing just because that's what we do.
Right.
You think about the old ones. And when there was action, yeah, the characters would run down the halls and maybe have to fix something on the ship. They did it a couple times, but like,
right.
It was never to the extent of how it is now, which is a difference of style. I get that, but it's not like we can't just sit on the bridge and talk about like, because they usually do that. They'll sit on the bridge and then they got something going. They got to go run somewhere. But like before, it was very much. It's a different style of storytelling, and it's a lot more action adventure now. But like, I do miss that when it wasn't just another action movie like how Transformers is.
Yeah.
Like it just feels like it's the next summer blockbuster. It's all about the effects of it. It's all about I don't know. It's just all about how quickly can we move something and how fast can we blow something up. Like that's just how those movies feel like anymore.
Yeah.
And
what I find, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, they are, but it just feels like how can we turn Star Trek to get towards the majority audience, not just those people who know Star Trek.
Exactly, and that's something we've definitely talked a lot about, like personally between us, is the whole like the intended target audience now is just anybody with a brain, and not people who actually care about the topic,
right?
Or the series or the movie. And so that's. But what I find interesting, kind of actually, I had a thought when you were talking, is that like it almost feels like it's less militaristic in a military type of way, where like it feels like because the Next Generation is usually what I go to, but like it feels like in that series it was a lot more like deliberate action from a strategic standpoint, whereas the new movies are just like, what can Kirk, or insert main character name here, what can they think of on the fly?
Yep.
What can they think of in a way that suddenly saves the ship? There's no like, there's largely not much teamwork.
It's
you
just
don't
that
have
one character doing everything kind of thing.
Actually, here, I'll give you a really good, and this is actually from First Contact, so I'll give you like a really good, name me a bit, and not and I guess it is kind of a weird way to compare a new original series compared to TNG, but also like the style's definitely changed since the original series was a thing.
Oh, definitely.
Right. So you can see how that's kind of a weird comparison, but also like, but having zombie, there's a Zombo, having any scene, any action or tense scene that isn't the In a Darkness one where it's the flip of the Kirk Spock thing of Spock, or of Kirk killing himself, instead of Spock to like save the crew. Think of like an action scene in the new series that is comparable to the action scene in First Contact when they go out to get the Borg off the dish. And how slow and suspenseful that scene was. I mean, partially by nature because they're out on like a spacewalk, but like that's idea. Also it's the idea. It's Star Trek. They're in space like that. Mm-hmm. You don't, and I don't mean to say like they need a scene like that, but there's no.
It's the pacing. It's just,
the pacing.
It's either quick, shoot, or stop, talk, or quick, shoot, stop, talk.
Yeah,
or
and the talking is always for. Yeah, and the talking is always for like exposition, and then like
it's rarely ever for character building. Yeah. It's just we got to talk about what's going on, or we got to talk about or the exposition is remember your dad, Kirk. Remember what he did, Kirk. It's just like those are the only things that we get. Like or either that or Spock and Vulcan, and then that's it. Like it's just
like human Vulcan. Yeah, and
there's just like not much else.
Well, and
I'm not saying
they
do it all the time, but okay. I was gonna say
they do actually.
What's the Insurrection?
Yes.
The reason why I hated that one when I was a kid is because it's slow.
Yeah.
As a kid, I loved First Contact because look at the first 5 minutes of that. Well, not 5, but look at the beginning of the movie. It's them fighting off a Borg cube. Like, that was my shit. That was the only reason why I liked movies at that time, because of the giant ships blowing each other up. Like,
oh yeah.
But then as you get older, you start to see. That's why I really enjoy Insurrection, because it feels just like a long episode of Next Generation.
It does.
It doesn't feel like a standalone thing. It feels like it almost could be a longer series.
Yeah,
or like a multiple part episode.
Yeah, and it's super necessary. And to like bounce back to what you said about like that's not what they always do for the new ones. I kind of argue that it is, because we've had 3 movies.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is enough time now to say we know almost nothing. Oh, there's a chasm. Holy shit. I almost dropped
Creeper.
right into that.
Top right, creeper.
Top right? Where? Oh, okay.
Got him.
If you don't kill him, I'm dead, because I fell in a hole. Oh, that's scary. That's the first chasm I've come across.
Hi, Enderman. How you doing?
Oh, yeah. I've come across like one. Where's he at?
He's over here.
He's like standing behind me. Okay. But you've had 3 movies of Star Trek, of the new ones. Can you tell me anything about Uhura's past?
Nope.
Can you tell me anything about...
No, that she's done linguist stuff.
Yes. Can you tell me anything about Chekhov? And I'm just going to be super sad because fucking Anton Yelchin is the best ever, and I will always be sad now. But
no, like, he's young. He's the young kid who's 17 in the first one. Yeah. And he's really good at stuff.
You get a little bit of Scotty, but he drinks with his friend.
Yeah.
Who's kind of a neat addition. I do like him.
Yeah, I'm glad they added some like a character like him he doesn't talk. He's kind of like a Chewbacca kind of character, because he's like the sidekick.
Yeah.
But like he's just kind of fun.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, and it's also nice to have like he's like, I don't know, it's a nice neat way to have. Oh, there's the Enderman. To have that, and you've got Scotty with somebody else he can banter with, because before it was, Scotty didn't have. Oh, there's another Enderman. Yeah, and so like he no, it's the same one. Okay. Yeah, you don't, and then like who else is on the fucking team? Like
Sulu.
You've got Sulu you did get more of, because you've got his either, I'm assuming, husband, and his daughter, which is super neat, and that was something you also had with the original, and then you have his daughter, and so that's
so
cool.
They kind of like, they definitely did kind of like a parallel, and it was nice to get kind of more of his character. But and then who else? Spock. I mean,
Spock you've gotten
the first one.
Yeah, and then he's just sad now, and Slimes, and then you've got. Yeah, and then you've got Kirk, who's got his background. No mention of his brother, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I almost forgot he didn't have, or that he had a brother, like until I was watching the original series again, and I was like, oh, that's right, that was a thing.
The kid in the first in 2009,
he was mentioned.
He was meant to be his brother.
Yeah,
because he's his friend Johnny, I think. That character was, I think there's a deleted scene if I remember right. He was intended to be his it's his full brother, right? Because his brother was older.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like so he's gone, I guess, for the sake of simplicity, but also what would that have changed really, to have his brother in it. And then so you've got that, and then you've got his mom. Did they ever finish anything about his mom? Just that she was off planet a lot?
That's all she ever is. Like, I don't remember her actually being in it anything else than that.
Yeah, which like I guess is fine, but also that's just a really common trope of like it's the dad that like really fucks him up. Like what his mom was on that ship for a reason. Like
like why? Yeah.
And if they're a science vessel, it seems like she would have been like an officer or something, Yeah,
she wouldn't just be on the ship. It's not like, because in Next Generation, how they had families on the ship, like that's one thing, but like,
and that was a new thing.
Yeah, that wasn't happening.
So that's just, that's either just weird writing or like, I don't know. I think I still have qualms with that.
Yeah.
With his birth, it feels too convenient for the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, and then like compare that to like the old series, the old movie. Like, let's talk about the original series cast. Like, since we're on that parallel, like,
yeah.
Not saying we knew a whole lot about Uhura or like Sulu, like, but you felt like you got to know their personality a bit better than just like one word or two words.
Yeah, Uhura's a badass linguist, the new one. She punches people and can talk languages.
Yep.
And then, like, yeah, and so it is kind of disappointing, like how Chekhov was always joked to be the younger one, but it was always kind of in this sense of like he was drastically younger. But like I guess that's the big thing I got. The TV show could take time with it, but also like you've had 3 movies. Do something else, like
right, like give us more to the characters.
Yeah, like something. Well, look at how much time they spent with how Carol Marcus was in it randomly, but like how much more time was spent with her dad. I mean, he was the bad guy, but you know. And then you've got.
Yeah, but was there really that much time spent with him?
No, because he was a super simple character.
All I take away from him is, I feared the unknown. I feared what could be. Must build big stuff to fight that. Like,
right,
that's the only
which
thing
is
I
kind
get
of
from
Khan too. Yeah, Khan was more like I'm superior, so I must build shit to kill people. But like,
right,
but like, I guess the other thing too is that they spent so much time with Khan in the second one that like, where are the characters? You know, where's everyone else? What's going on with all this other stuff? And I guess that is. You did get in Beyond. You got a little more heart to heart with the characters. They got to know each other a little more.
Yeah,
which was cool. You had Chekhov, which I'm still super interested to see what they're gonna do. I hope they just say he got promoted and is on a different ship.
Yeah, instead of just being like he's dead now.
Because I think that hits a little too close to home, and also don't recast him. And so they did do a pretty good job of having him sticking with Kirk. And finding shit out, and then having, you had McCoy and Spock together, and then you had Uhura and Sulu together, which is something you at least didn't get much in this series, at least.
Yeah.
I don't remember enough of the original series, but yeah. So like you got more with that, which was nice, but it was all still relative to the situation. Which that's how the movie was set up.
Yeah.
Right. It was fast paced in regard to the plot. It had to be quick because everything was going down so fast.
Right.
Which is fine. But yeah, you kind of had this like, oh god, I thought my computer fell asleep. You just had this like, yeah, I don't know. I think there's just a lot of missed opportunities, and I gotta wonder how much of it is Paramount too, because Transformers is Paramount. Like, a lot of these older shows that are getting new movies that Paramount had are kind of in the same vein of like, there's a lot of action going on. There's a lot of like, we can even say the same about like look at the new Star Wars. Like, there's less slow bits.
That could be a whole nother topic, to be honest with you, is that it's the new generation of these movies. It seems to be falling into it, because like I just remember watching Beyond, and then just now recently watching The Last Jedi, like feeling the same way of going, I like this, but it's just
something missing.
It's not what I was envisioning, you know. And I think there comes a problem with that, because you envision what you've already known.
Exactly.
And so that's why I don't sit there and complain all day and all night about, it needs to be this or that, because it's its own thing. And they tried.
And it already has been
stuff.
done. Yeah.
And so with the Star Trek, like they definitely tried new stuff. I hope to God I make this. Okay. I'm sorry. I just
Did you dive into Yeah.
And I literally landed a block away from land. I would have totally been dead. But no, yeah, it's just I'm glad they're trying new stuff. But it's tough to make something new. But that's okay. Here was something I was going to kind of segue into was the fact that they still had Khan in it. The fact that like that's
in
why
the second movie.
It's the second movie.
Wow.
Congratulations, you just did what you said you weren't going to do.
Right, yeah.
Like, not only what were you going to say?
Oh, just like not only is Khan in it, but it's like just call the movie The Wrath of Khan again, but not really because it's a different Khan. Like that could have been the title for the movie.
I love Benedict and I think he was really cool, but I just don't like. He was Khan for that movie.
Well, but actually, like, you know what they missed? They tried so hard to hide the fact that he's Khan. You missed the story of him coming out of the ice. You missed the story of Star Trek abusing him. Of Starfleet, like, taking advantage of him and, like...
Oh, yeah.
Like, putting all of the backstory could have been the beginning of the movie. Like...
That's actually a good point. Instead of trying to be like, look what we're doing, actually do something with it and go, hey, this is Khan, but look what happened in this world. Because... If you just because probably what people didn't want to happen, the writers, the producers, people didn't want to happen was, if people know it's Khan, they're gonna not like us for it, and
right, and it's like that's fine. Well, and then at that point, if they're not gonna like you for it, don't put him in the movie because you put him in the movie. Yeah, so then halfway through the movie, people are gonna be like, oh God, it's Khan. Yeah, like it's like you tricked people into the movie.
That's literally what they did, and I'm like, whatever, that's cool, but like, I think they really, if you were gonna go for Khan, just go for Khan. Don't just fucking tiptoe
There's
around
so many
it.
of these movies that are like, what? Well, and I'm doing that with my writing. Like, I'm trying to work with my writing in a way where, like, I want it to be cool, and I want something to be a surprise, but is the surprise ruining my writing? Is the surprise of this scene ruining how good the story could be if I would just back off from it and be like, okay,
stop being
how about
so
I
proud
don't...
Of like, look what I did,
tricked you.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Is stop the whole look what I did and look what I can do with the story, and instead do that like once or twice, and write a story and have and have elements. Look at Star Wars. Look at the whole Luke or Vader being his dad. Like that was one of the, and then I think it's Pitch Perfect where Vader is like father for or German for father, but like it's having. Oh, that's a drop. All right, I'm okay. Having the bit where it's like, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh,
I don't know what I was gonna say.
Well, it's you're not trying the entire time. They could have just been like, oh, is he his father? Whoa, they never even alluded to that. They were just
it was just all of a sudden like. Bam.
Because it wasn't necessary. It was like, and not saying that was the best thing in writing. Like, it's definitely not. But like, it's a really good example of not letting your boasting get in the way of your writing.
Right. Because
that's what I've done that too. And look at what.
Well, just the idea that like you have You have allusions to it, to where when you do something later, it can still work. How Obi-Wan was like, oh, he killed his father. He was talking about in like the metaphysical sense, where he's just like, he was being very abstract about it because he's traumatized.
Yeah, he did not want Luke to see it that way.
He didn't want him to know. He told him a half truth. Yeah. Like it was very much like he saw it. Obi-Wan saw it in the whole like Vader was a different person. Because, like, he saw Anakin as an entirely different person, which isn't that's another thing you could talk about forever. Oh, but like, is Obi-Wan's fault and everything with everything? But like, you take this and then you're like, oh. No, we'll make it so we don't know who I spent the entire damn time of Into Darkness going, is it Khan or is it not?
Right. And then we got closer and they're like, oh, the 72 pods or whatever. And I was
I was like, oh, it's fucking Khan.
Crewmates. It's Khan. Like, it was... Yeah. I was excited at the time because you're in the heat of the movie.
Oh yeah.
But then like
movies need to be rewatchable.
Exactly. Because when you go back through it, you're like, oh, that's con. Or like the second time you watch it, you're like, oh, look at that, I missed that because I didn't know the first time. But then after that, you're like, because right now, like, I would love to watch the first Star Trek or like the 2009 Star Trek because it's been a moment. But Into Darkness, I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll watch it.
Yeah, like I want to watch Beyond again because I think I own it. But like, yeah, Beyond I've only seen a few times.
Has a little more of that because because they took it in a different direction. They went, all right, let's keep the 5-year mission thing alive. Let's keep the feeling of Star Trek there, but then let's move into, like, let's not take like previous characters and like bring them in. It's not Khan, it's its own thing.
They even got rid of Carol. Like she was supposed to be part of the mission, and then she's just not in the next movie. They like backpedaled heavily, which is like it's good, but also like when you do that, then it gets a little awkward because you're like, thanks for acknowledging that the second movie is kind of weird, but now we all know that you knew the second movie was weird. Like, and it's and it's just kind of less. It is less enjoyable for me as a movie series because I don't know. They feel a lot more disjointed, and I guess like I'm at least happy that they didn't do the whole how Star Trek's 2, 3, and 4 were a trilogy, which is kind of a neat thing that they did. Yeah, that it's not acknowledged that that's a trilogy outright, but like they all go into each other.
Yeah, it's like a direct trilogy.
So I'm happy they didn't do that, but it's definitely got like it's got room to grow, but in a way where I don't know if the movies are enough because
and that's where like the whole series, like you feel like a series would help, but then like I just don't know.
Right, and like I mean you've got Discovery, so they're already planning on they're already doing that, so that's separate. And I don't know, I believe Discovery is set in the reboot in the 09 universe. I kind of
get the vibe that it is.
Yeah, which is fine. Which is also a good, how we were talking earlier about things being like different beforehand, so that's neat. But it's still just very much like why we're missing something. We need a campfire scene, regardless of how much people hate it. We need a bit where it's Kirk and them on leave. Or even do one of those movies where they're all on leave. And, I mean, that's a rehash of 5, which sucks because the original... All the older movies had so many different things to it that, like... It's hard to make a Star Trek movie that isn't another Star Trek movie.
Right.
But it's just... I don't know, like... Actually, no, they haven't done... They keep doing one-off shit with the Federation and Starfleet.
Yeah. It'd be nice if we kind of got away from that.
Like... I'm happy they got away from the Klingons a little bit and the other like everybody else, but also like the villain in one. I'm gonna just call the skeleton. I'm gonna call these like 1, 2, and 3 just for the sake of it being easy. Yeah. Is that like the villain in 1 was Romulan, and so that was a departure from the classic Klingons and the bad guys for the original series, especially because they didn't really know much about the Romulans at that point, which they like hinted on in the because like the dude on the deck of the Enterprise, the linguist on the deck of the Enterprise or on the bridge didn't know if he could distinguish between Vulcan and Romulan dialects. Like that feels like it's like, whoa, really? But that just shows you that they didn't know much. She just excelled. And also they needed a way for her to be on the bridge. But, like, they excelled. Like, they didn't know Romulan very well. Because they wouldn't have. And so, like, that's neat.
Yeah.
But, like, then in 2, it's, Starfleet's getting a little big for its britches. Which I guess would make sense if you want to set this world up. And then 3, it just... You think it's an alien, and he ends up being somebody from really far in the past from Starfleet. And so, like, I get the idea that the original Star Trek didn't do all that much of of internal problems with Starfleet.
But I feel like we're kind of beating this to death now.
You need to vary it up anyway. Yeah, like maybe Beyond should have been like the 4th movie or something. Like it switch it up, or at least now switch it up. They have to. They can't do 3 in a row. I mean, if they do, then it's just like, why? But it really does feel like they need to like introduce. I mean, pull a Next Generation where you're like, hey, look at the fucking Borg. They're the scariest fucking things in this universe.
Oh yeah.
Like, they were terrifying, and they also performed a really good contrast to Data, who was supposed to be the non-human. He was the Spock.
Yep.
And so, like, I saw somebody talking about how, like, even in the original series, robots were generally the bad guys, which was, like, a very 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s...
You got the vibe.
Today's thing to do, yeah, is that well, it's
60s,
true.
70s, 80s, 90s, 1000s.
Well, look at Terminator. Terminator's still a thing. And so, like...
Yeah, exactly.
But then you have Data in Next Generation, who's very, like... He's the Spock. He's the one that doesn't understand humans, which I think has always been a really neat thing that Star Trek has done. But then you play the Borg off of that. Oh yeah, but then they play the Borg off of that, and I guess I didn't realize this till now. But like how doing that had a nice contrast to, like, there's some robots that are bad and some robots that are good, just like people.
Right.
And so, like, but then having Spock again and having to deal with Vulcan, and I don't know if the whole formula of rebooting Kirk was the problem, or what. I guess that's kind of where I'm ending up.
Yeah.
Thought wise in in my ramblings is that it feels very like
maybe it's the original Kirk. Starting point was not the best.
Maybe it just doesn't fit anymore with like, because, and you can kind of tell because the reactions or the idea of it, you're trying to take the original characters out of, well, because Star Trek has always been a social commentary thing. You're taking the original characters and putting them in a day and age where that's not the problem anymore.
Yeah.
Like look at Uhura. Having a black woman on the bridge of the Enterprise was like Gene Roddenberry's like, if you don't do this, I'm walking, because this is the problem right now.
Yeah,
and like that's still applicable today. Right, it's still applicable today, but like
not to the exact same extent.
The comparison would be having like a Muslim man or woman, or like having having Sulu be gay was like a little pinprick into what it should, the direction of like, what's today's challenges, what's today's social issues.
Yeah, and which is the basis for Star Trek. Right,
and so like they've taken the original crew, haven't really added much to them, really, and then said, okay, but now I guess it's action-y, like there's no...
Yeah.
That was the only way they could do it, was say, hey, I guess this is an action flick now. And so, like, I mean, not to say that Star Trek wasn't always action-y. It's relied on that.
It's the mainstream action that is what it's become.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, like, the most frustrating thing about it. It's not... And it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be what it once was. But it's...
Right.
I don't want it to lose what Star Trek's actually about.
Exactly, especially for the fact that it was like written by a white man in the 60s, and like it had the impact that it did, touching on things like, look at, I mean, even Chekhov. If you think about it contextually, like, and that's the joke that I never got in Voyage Home until like 2 years ago, was that it was a Russian officer in the 80s asking where a nuclear missile base was. Like, you've got the height of Cold War terror.
Right. And this Russian is asking where that's at.
In California, where this is. Yeah. And so, like, and that wasn't heavy-handed. That was clearly, because I didn't get it for, like, 25 years. But, like, the fact that that was still a thing, having a Russian kid well, he's supposed to be Russian, but it's the Eastern European,
Ukrainian, not sure.
Like clearly the bad guy, quote unquote, in the Cold War.
Exactly.
Being a character, working with these people, on the ship, it was very important to that time period and how influential that was on. Well, that's neat looking. Influential that was on like just that bit, like how many. It's always the like who's watching. How many kids from that area, who regardless of how they felt about things in the U.S., did not feel safe because of the Cold War.
Yep.
Regardless of their own ideals, just naturally did not feel safe. And so having Walter Koenig, I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how you say it.
Having him on the bridge of the Enterprise too it's important.
It is important.
And so that's where
okay, great. This is a great tie-in to Star Wars. What did Star Wars start out as? A Flash Gordon adventure series.
Yeah.
What does it become?
Mm-hmm.
Not really that anymore.
No,
Star
not
Trek
in the slightest bit.
Started out as such a social commentary that the creator fought for these things, that wanted to put these things in. It's not that as much anymore. It's a very similar thing. It's not exactly
but in
what
like
it was
a weird bad way. Yeah. And so like it's and I think that's part of the reason why Star Trek is having and has had such a rough time is that it doesn't. Well, one, it was always more directed for TV, so it wasn't as widely viewed as a movie could be.
Right.
But getting away from those things, making it more diluted, is I think largely why it suffers, because it's the whole making it so the target audience is whoever is a person, and that's the problem, because it's the people who are like, oh, I'm uncomfortable seeing a gay man on the big screen or even on television. It's like, and suck it the fuck up. Like, what the hell? It's just, if you don't like it, ignore it.
Well, and that's the thing, is because that's the argument of that plus a bunch of other things is, well, I live here too, and it's like, yeah, but that's also part it. Other people have other religions, like
right.
Or
like just watch the old movies or watch something else.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a billion different things for you. Yeah. And so that's that. Like, I'm making a horrible choice, climbing down the side of this vertical cliff.
Oh yeah,
I'm not a mountain goat.
Yep. But yeah, no, that's why I think Star Trek will not return to what it is until it becomes more social.
Oh yeah.
Social commentary, stronger social commentary. Right. Because it's just not,
definitely.
No.
Like, I was watching Designated Survivor. Do you? I think I told you about it.
Yes.
I didn't finish it.
Is that the one with what is his
Kiefer
name? Yep, Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, and the whole of the American government goes boom, and
and he's now the designated. Yeah. What is it?
He was listed as, I think he was like Department of like, I don't want to say agriculture, but something like out in left field like that.
Not like one of the big ones.
Who's actually surprisingly high up, I think. But he was one of the ones that was like really low on the rung. Yeah. And he becomes president. Well, and you have it in the middle of like everything that's going on
crisis.
Now. It's not anything that's anything is now a terrorist attack, regardless of what it's like. That's just the first go-to.
Yep.
And it's always, what Muslim man is behind this, even though that's like, white supremacy holds like the largest amount of violence in this country.
Yes,
and
it
so
does.
like, right. And so, but that show, I did get to the part to where he was having problems with the Michigan governor, which is where we're at, because it's the largest Arabic population is in Dearborn in the country. Yep. I think that's accurate.
Yeah, I think so.
And so then the governor was doing crap like illegal arrests, all this other shit, and he tried to like separate from the country because like, is the country really a country anymore? But like they dove right into that. Like,
wow.
Yeah, and it could have just been like, and I don't know how it ended. I don't know. I didn't keep up on it.
Continued.
But like. Yeah, but like the fact that they immediately addressed that situation, in a show like this,
that they could have easily just made it really not that at all.
They could have made it just real like blasé, like this is just another
Basic.
one of these. Yeah, another one of these random ass movies or TV series that doesn't really get into anything.
Yep.
And
it's almost afraid to get into those things because of ratings. Exactly. Because that's all. Because of ratings. Because by.
Yes. Yep.
And look at that's so. What, sorry, if you're gonna make a point, make it.
No, I was not. Okay, I made my point.
I was just gonna say, relating to that, back to Star Trek is it's fallen into the hands of. We got to stick to the ratings. We got to stick to these focus groups. We got to stick to what's gonna sell, make money. It's exactly. Not. We don't, cater to the. It's gotten so big. That's why.
Yes.
It's because people who want to make the money off of it have now put their eyes on it. Right. And I think that's kind of where the problem lies.
Yeah, and it's hard because you're just like you do want it to reach a larger thing because it is money and you need money to make things happen. But like these people making these things have the money to make it happen. Yes, they do. Like
and happen the way that the followers, not necessarily just the fans of it, but like the people who appreciate it for what it was and what it can be.
Yes. Oh, look at regardless of the fact that it was a drop or a flop at the time, they still made episode 5. Star Trek was still super popular then. Like, regardless of how people think of it or thought of it or how it is now, like they still made it. And I'm bummed that Shatner like apologized for making that one because like it was fun. It was weird, but it was still fun. Like
5 was supposed to be the ending, like the final frontier, and then it was such a flop.
Oh,
and then
I forgot about
Country,
that.
I think was a really good ending to it.
Yeah,
but I was just gonna like finish up what I was saying was just like there was obviously there's more movies of the original series cast, but like there was a lot more of a variety of movies. Like
there was
first one, motion picture, very. I actually feel like watching it now. It's just it's slow, it's boring, it's slow, but it was, at its heart, was very interesting because it was very much like an original series episode.
Oh, yeah.
It was at the heart of Star Trek. There was something new. There was something mysterious. Mm-hmm. What is it? We have to figure it out.
Well, they were trying something they hadn't done, really. They're making a movie. Exactly. Everybody quit. Like, that's yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. They had bad luck. And then the second one, what do you get? You get action, you get adventure, inspired by Star Trek's success, like it was, or Star Wars. I'm sorry, Star Wars' success. They wanted to go with something a little more upbeat, and I think it worked because they still used the original series, like inspiration.
Yeah.
But then like went a little more action, a little more like aggressive with it, and then you get 3, which was like they were returning from a battle, and it was like really intense, and like they had to steal the ship, and it was just like. Very different, one, you go off and you find an adventure, you find, like, the first one you go off and there's this mysterious, why is it whatever you don't know what it is, you call it a thing.
Yeah.
Like, that thing, like, there's a thing. And then the second one, you have this man who's the main villain. And then the third one, you kind of have a villain because it's the Klingon, randomly, Christopher Lloyd Klingon.
Right.
But, like, he's the antagonist, but it's also Genesis is the antagonist.
Yeah,
it's like the planet itself.
Yeah, the Klingon's doing his own thing, but like yeah.
And so like you've got three very different things. But then look at first one, Nero. He's got a giant ass ship.
Yep.
Second one, you got Khan. He's got this giant ass ship.
Yep.
Third one, you've got this dude who has a really weird giant like beehive kind of scenario ship thing.
Yeah.
It's like you have done 3 of the same things. You've got this main bad guy, not this mysterious giant. You don't have to do a giant cloud of this mysterious thing that ends up being a Voyager probe. Like they've just done Wrath of Khan 3 times.
They did.
And I'm just like, I'm so bored of that.
Yeah.
Like, please just do something a little more adventurous and like, I mean, Beyond I think was the most adventurous out of all of them.
Oh, definitely.
Because it was new stuff, which is cool, but at its core, it was the same thing.
Well, they still had to blow up the Enterprise. Like it was like
they still pulled a Search for Spock parallel. Oh, we blow up the Enterprise. You know?
And look they jumped ahead a little bit by having this one end with them getting 1701A, but like if they do a thing where the 4th movie's got a gap and there's no Enterprise, and then like it's they're pretty much just trying to stick with what was done before. And Yeah, and so
look at fourth one. Fourth one was there's this thing, but it's not necessarily evil. It is just causing problems.
Right.
But it's because they have to go back in time, which is fun. It was a little more adventurous. It was kind of goofy.
Hilarious. The one with whales.
It is hilarious. The one with the whales. And then it's just the first 4 movies had 2 of them had a very similar setup with a thing going to Earth, but the approach was very different.
Yeah.
And so it's just can we just get some variety?
Yeah, and you can see with the way they did have that whole thing where it's like V'ger and the probe were 2 very similar things, but one of them was let's go at the probe or at V'ger and figure it out, and was like also we want to make it trippy as fuck, and then and then 4 was let's go so far away from this probe that we're going to a different time period. It's the exact opposite, and it's just.
Yeah.
And I think go ahead.
It's just the variety of writing and creativity rather than just trying to meet a quota, trying to match what is popular and trying to make money.
Yes. Yeah. And the worst thing for me is the fact that I fucking love all the actors in the new one.
Oh yeah,
they've got
the best if a new one comes out, I'll go see it.
Oh yeah, especially because it's for the cat. Especially again now because of Anton. I'm still all
right.
But then having I don't know, Chris Pine is just perfect.
A great version of Kirk.
Having now that we've thoroughly been frustrated with it, my favorite parts are definitely the people. Having Carl Urban in there. Having shit, what's her name? Why am I blanking on her name?
She's in her name, unfortunately.
That's stupid. I do wish that I want to see her in something that's not requiring her to be either the only woman or the alien woman in a sci-fi movie. I'd love to see
I guess if she seems to like doing more of the alien role.
Right, which is
cool.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean because now I can't think of her name because I haven't seen her in a leading part.
Yeah. And I guess she, for all I know, she could be in something that I just haven't looked into, and that's just on me.
Well,
but
when I say leading part of a movie that's more mainstream, more popular, more. Because I guess she was in Avatar, but she's still not a.
Yeah. Well, it's having Lupita Nyong'o in Star Wars. She's what's her name?
Rose?
Not Dax. No, she's
Oh, what are we talking about? What?
She's the alien with the big eyes. I don't remember her character name.
Yeah.
That's her, but you'd never know it was her. But yeah. But yeah, having that's gonna bother me. Keep talking. I want to look that up.
Well, and then you said Carl Urban. We got Chris Pine. What's Zach? What is Spock's name? Zach. Is it Zach?
Zachary Quinto.
He seems like a Zach. Yeah, Quinto. That's it.
Zoe Saldana. Zoe. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Zoe Saldana.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm glad you figured that out.
Yeah. Having Simon Pegg.
Oh yeah, and then he's just such a random but awesome addition.
Yeah.
He does such a good job with it. And isn't he a Star Trek fan, or is he?
Yes.
Is he not the Star Trek fan? I don't remember.
He is because he's the one that helped write the third movie.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to get it back to and it's it's closer. It is closer. I think it's the closest.
Yeah. To the original style.
And not even, I guess, to the original style if you want to argue new things, but it's the closest to the original style while still making it new. Unfortunately, it was very similar to what they had already done.
Yes.
And I think that's where it gets hung up for me. But yeah, so the cast is just great. Getting to see Spock and McCoy get closer and beyond was good. Like I said, I think they did pretty good pairings. How they had Chekhov with Kirk, which was really nice, and Uhura and Sulu, which is neat. And so and I think because they had a little bit of stuff in the original series, but I don't remember. Again, I haven't watched it in a long time. But there's so much water on this map. Yeah. So I think the cast is phenomenal.
I think it's what saves it.
It is.
It's if the cast wasn't as good as it was, I think the movies wouldn't be as good as they are.
Yeah, the cast.
Which, I mean,
and
that's obvious, but like the writing, even
the cast and the effects are phenomenal. I mean, look at. I do not know the actress's name or her character name, but the woman,
the white skin.
Yes, the very white skinned alien
with the black markings on her face.
Yeah.
Really cool character, I think.
Really cool character, and like they even having the other people on in the movies are just really cool and good, and having Idris Elba be the bad guy. And
I was gonna say Idris Elba being the villain.
Yeah, like
does a wonderful job in like any part he's in.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that's something too. Is that going back to something I miss space being the villain. I miss.
Yes.
I miss them
the
coming
unknown.
across. Yes, having it be the unknown, not just people. Like that's
because that's
people
what,
is
that's
Star Wars.
Very much like Beyond was like, oh, there's this unknown threat, but it's just like it's still a threat. It's still a person. It's still you kill the people and it's over. You know.
Yes, it's not that because that's very Star Wars. The people are the threat. Star Trek is very like you have that, but also you have like V'ger. Like you've got you've got the crystalline cloud that like fucks Kirk up when he's younger. You've got you got all sorts of shit. I got a Star Trek encyclopedia. Like there's so much
there's
stuff
a lot
in there
to go off of. Like I wish they would but think about what makes Khan the Wrath of Khan so good. And so like it's or appealing to a wider audience, I should say. Is because you have this villain that you have to take down.
It's the same with the Borg. It's the same with. It's easier to have a villain to take down, rather than an idea. Because what would happen if you come up with what's this mysterious thing? Oh, it's just like this. It's a probe that was years ago. Like I feel like the casual moviegoer would watch, even if the motion picture wasn't as slow and boring. Mm-hmm. They would watch it and be like, what's a Voyager probe? Like, or maybe they do know because not everybody knows stuff about that, but maybe they do know. They'd just be like, oh, that's it? I thought it was going to be this big bad guy. Right.
Like, if you think about, look at, Mario with Bowser or, Luke with Darth Vader. It's just that, like you said, Star Wars. The casual moviegoer needs that obvious good and evil, where Star Trek doesn't really have that.
I think that's what's interesting. Well, because it is more of a social commentary where everyone is the good and the evil. But I think that's where a few things you've got. I think that's where TNG nailed it really well. Is that they had a lot of mix between.
They had a variety.
They had a really nice variety. But look at Insurrection. It's still a slower movie, but you had a really clear bad guy. Or you've got
that's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, but then look at Farpoint Station. It was more about what Picard and look at Q. The whole idea. What can your people do? What can humans do that makes us better? That's the whole idea. And so that idea is almost non-existent in the new Star Wars or new Star Trek movies.
No, it's not.
How can humans be better? How can we improve ourselves to the benefit of people? And that is, it's in there in what they stand for, but it's never a thing that's really look at Farpoint. It's going into the unknown. It's the whole, they would have become the antagonist. It wasn't humans killing humans. It was humans killing an alien that they didn't, or taking advantage of an alien that they didn't or did know about, and then rectifying that within the human community of it's you need to stop hurting others rather than you need to stop hurting me. It's the whole the it's more of the revenge thing where it's you're hurting people I know or care about, whereas Star Wars has kind of generally been I'm sorry, Star Trek is more the whole, you're hurting something that has no bearing on me, but you need to stop that anyway because you're being a dick.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that has been missing, and especially because they're using people as the villains against other people rather than we don't know what these aliens are, what they want. It's less exploratory. It's more actiony and violent and drama filled, rather than like, oh hey, this, like, I want to see Chris Pine be Kirk in a situation that requires him to be Kirk, to be, to be this character that feels so strongly, I guess, is the best way I can think of Kirk. Is that, like, Kirk was always about the emotion, against Spock, whereas Picard was always about the Picard was always about, like, the conflict between duty and whatever the opposite
Personal.
of that would be. Yeah, the whole
Dedication.
look at Insurrection. What is required of us as a member of Starfleet? It brings the mind Full Metal Alchemist, being the military, being a dog of the military, and what that entails.
Dog of the military.
Yeah, and so, like, a lot of it is Picard. The episode that comes to mind is the Native American one, where they want to displace, again, Native Americans who had fled to another planet, or they moved them, or however it was. I don't remember that part of it. But they wanted Picard to be like, hey, you guys got to move because of the Cardassians or something. And Picard's like, I need to do this because it's my job. And I believe in what the Federation stands for. But if I don't do this, if I do go through with it, I'm ruining what the Federation is supposed to stand for. And it gets into all of that whole thing of, like, are you doing something for yourself for the cause? Are you doing something for the cause that ends up getting corrupted? Are you doing something in a way that makes the cause better? Like, it's always, like, it's always a lot more philosophical than just bad guy, shoot, save people, yay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what's easier for the general audience?
Exactly.
Philosophical thought, or point and shoot action, destroy evil, good wins the day.
Yeah, because it becomes less of a source of because Star Trek, to me, isn't really supposed to be a source of entertainment. It's supposed to be
It's supposed to be thought-provoking.
It's supposed to be thought-provoking. And you're going to have weird-ass episodes where everybody's stuck in the holodeck and they're playing Robin Hood. Like, you need to balance the fun.
That's the fun of it.
Exactly. That was actually something I was talking about in my weird intro after you cut out, was the idea that, like, it's supposed to be fun while you talk about scary shit. Like, that's something Star Wars doesn't do, is that, like, you have moments of, like, character stuff, but you never let the characters have fun for a long period of time, because it's war. It's an entirely different setup. But, like, that is one of the bigger differences, is that in Star Trek, they're half the time they're just like, ooh, what's this space dust? Look at how many times chilling. Picard was like, should we go do this today? Because we're having so much fun.
One of my favorite is First Contact, when they're just like reporting to him, like, and there was a meteor shower, and was it like there's like 30,000 particles per square whatever on the Romulan neutral zone. This is fantastic.
And Picard's just like, woo, when meanwhile everybody they know is dying, and like they
pretty much
but you have that camaraderie of the
dynamic
crew. Yes, you have the camaraderie of the crew, of the moment that Data says to hell with our orders, like,
oh, that's so powerful.
Because one, it's Data, but also
it's
two,
so
like,
cool. Well,
it's neat to have that level of the crew being like, for what we perceive the greater good, fuck our orders. We're gonna go save everyone because we're clearly the best ones, like, to do it.
Fitted for the job.
Yeah. And then just having that, I don't know, like, that's something you don't get in much other stuff, and you don't get that in when it comes to, like. Oh, I might die. Hold on. I might die. I don't want to die. When it comes to the new Star Trek, you don't have... Look at how many times the crew's displaced from each other in the new ones.
They always get separated, and they're always doing something else.
And I think they're under the impression that, like, we know these characters, but they're new people. Like,
they're new people. They're new characters.
We have no idea who these characters are.
They're new versions of the old characters, like...
Oh, fucking hell.
Shit.
All right.
Stupid ass creeper. I thought you were looking at it.
I was looking at my map, and then all of a sudden this thing walked up to me, said hello, and just blew itself away. So yeah,
in conclusion.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's literally that's just what the new movies need is
shit.
Exploration in a non mainstream way. I don't know. That's if you want the Star Trek movies to successfully feel like the old ones while still feeling new, because they could do that. They could easily do it.
Oh, easily.
They could just come up with a new villain that wasn't. I mean, I'm no Star Trek writer, but I get irritated with it.
Oh, definitely, because it does end up just being more of the same. It ends up being gotta kill this guy, gotta figure out how to do it, but in like such a way where we can conveniently do everything that we need to do. We're like. That's I think too where you lose the episodic things of the episodes where they lose, the episodes where they don't
the ups
succeed.
And downs.
Yeah,
not a climax, not as a beginning to end, up and down. Like, well, that's why I think like that's where Star Wars does work. Is the whole like up and down of the hero, like the beginning is the intro, and then the next is the fall of the hero, and then the rise of the hero.
It's a classic hero story.
It's a classic, yeah.
It's designed
when you don't
way.
have that, when you don't have that ability to do that, and you have to do like separate movies, like how are you gonna do it? Like but I think that wraps it up pretty well.
Yeah, I've just been wandering around this map, kind of filling in the map.
I've missed a huge chunk of it, but
that's fine. We could always trade maps. But yeah, so I basically Paramount just give us more of the characters.
Basically new, yeah.
Like that's what we want. That's what we've always wanted from Star Trek. We want more of the characters and how they react to like different weird aliens. Like that's
and not a bad guy who's for some reason related to Starfleet or has a grudge against Starfleet.
Yeah. Like I'm happy they did it once because it was needed.
Yeah.
And then, but I don't know. Like just have it be more perilous and more fun.
Yes.
Like, yeah, because that's what Star Trek is. Make it scarier, but also have more of Data being Sherlock Holmes. Like,
yes,
give us that. That's just
the fun. With the adventurous, with the heavy-hearted, with just all of that.
Yeah, and that's
blended together.
The newest ones are missing a lot of the emotion.
That's what we're looking for. Yeah.
Okay, well, this has been While We Play. I'm Joe.
And I'm Josh.
Yeah, thanks for hopefully listening to this bit to the end and
to this lovely over an hour long
cacophony
adventure
of Star Trek, and have fun.
Yeah.
I'm hitting stop now.